Good day everyone, I am DIONIO and together with my co-reporter Mark Anthony Dormitorio, we will be going to discuss the next non-Muslim group, which is the MANOBO group. But before we start, I'd like to introduce to you our learning objectives. So at the end of the lesson, the students are expected to explain the history, traditions, and cultural practices of the MANOBO people, show appreciation and respect for the MANOBO culture by reflecting on its significance and expressing understanding of its importance in society, and participate in a brief class discussion about the MANOBO, asking questions and sharing what they have learned. The MANOBO are one of the largest indigenous groups in the Philippines, primarily residing in various parts of Mindanao, including Bukidnon, Agusan del Sur, Davao, and Cotabato. So the term MANOBO means person or people and may originally have been called Mansuba. From man meaning person or people and Suba or Suba means river. Hence meaning river people because they live near the river. So they are considered one of the most diverse indigenous groups in the Philippines with numerous subgroups and languages. So the MANOBO has 8 cluster groups, which include the Cotabato MANOBO, Agusan MANOBO, Dibabaon MANOBO, Matigsalog MANOBO, Sarangani MANOBO, MANOBO of Western Bukidnon, Obo MANOBO, and Tagabawa MANOBO. So for the history of the MANOBO people are believed to be descendants of Proto-Philippine or Proto-Austronesian migrants from South China thousands of years ago. So the oral traditions suggest that their ancestors lived in the lower valley of the Pulangi River in central Mindanao. So as I've said earlier, they are called the river people. It is because they live in the lower valley of Pulangi River. So these traditions also tell the story of 2 MANOBO leaders, sina Tabunaway and Mamalu. So Tabunaway embraced the religion Islam after Sharif Kabungsuan, who is a Muslim missionary from Johore, arrived in the 14th century and introduced the religion to him, while Mamalu resisted and chose to preserve their ancestral beliefs. Also, during the Spanish colonization, the MANOBO were pressured to assimilate into mainstream society. However, they resisted. They chose to retreat to more isolated areas in order to maintain their traditions. Also, despite these efforts, the arrival of American influences and later the Philippine government led to significant changes in their way of life. So, with the introduction of formal education and economic shifts, that disrupted their traditional lifestyle. So over time, there were land conflicts and there were forces of modernization forced some MANOBO communities to integrate into larger settlements, while others continue to hold onto their ancestral practices. So the challenges of preserving their culture amid mga external pressures or mga colonizers shaped the MANOBO's resilience and their ongoing efforts to protect their identity and traditions. For the socio-economic aspect of the MANOBO, their life is centered around agriculture, hunting, and traditional weaving, with farming being the most common way of life. However, their farming methods are relatively primitive. For example, the Cotabato MANOBO practice a farming technique called kaingin. So as we all know, kaingin is also called slash and burn, where they slash and burn trees in order to clear the land. Also, they use the ashes as a fertilizer. Also, social life within the MANOBO community is patriarchal, meaning it is male-dominated. So naturally, the head of the family is typically the husband, and polygyny. However, among the Bukidnon MANOBO, most marriages are monogamous, meaning they only have one wife. With polygyny, being an exception for powerful leaders known as datus. So for the political aspects of Manobo, the political structure of Manobo groups is centered around a ruler known as the Sultan. And next to the Sultan is the local datus. So they hold the high positions in the society. Beneath them are two main classes, the royal and the non-royal. Only members of the royal class can aspire to the throne, while those in the non-royal class are under the authority of the royal class. So both of these classes depend on each other for the group's functioning. So political and social aspects of Manobo life are closely connected. So for instance, social events like weddings often require the involvement of political leaders. So in marriage negotiations, both the bride and the groom must go through the local datu or headman to handle the arrangements. So this integration of politics and social life is defining features of their culture. So the next topics will be discussed by my co-reporter Mark Anthony Dormitorio.
Now, let's proceed with the social organization of Manobo. The traditional social structure of Manobo consists of four classes. So these are the Bagani, the Bailan, the commoner, and the slave. The Bagani, they are the warriors. They are the one who protected the community and fought in battles. But this group no longer exists today. The second one is the Bailan, the priests and healers. They are the spiritual leaders, both men and women, who still exist today. The third one are the commoners. These are the farmers who work to provide the food. And the last one are slaves. These were the people captured in raid or those who could not pay fines for crimes like theft, property damage, adultery, and insults. So slaves belong to the ruler and sometimes given as a part of marriage gifts or bride wealth. However, they have the chance to earn their freedom by working hard, staying loyal to their master, and paying off their debt. Some slaves called Biliw were treated like family, and it was offensive to call them slave. Insulting someone's low status or disability is called or also known as the tempala, and it was considered disrespectful. And calling the Biliw as slave is considered as a tempala. Next is the spiritual beliefs. So the Manobo tribe believes that invisible spirits have a big influence on human life. So these spirits can be a good or a bad, and it can affect people in different ways, making them either happy or angry. The tribe believes that these spirits can communicate with them through a person called Bailan, or those the priests or the healers, so who act as the medium or the connection between the spirits and the people. While the religious practices of Manobo vary slightly since there are a lot of clusters of the Manobo, there seems to be at least one common thread linking them together. So each culture believes that one spirit or the one great spirit. So this great spirit usually viewed as the creator figure. So the most powerful being for them. Let's move on with the traditions and custom of the Manobo. So starting with a pregnant woman observes several taboos to protect the infant's life and health. So for example is that she must stay indoors when the sky is red at sunset for the bloodthirsty busaw or the malignant spirits are around. Also, she must never run for even just stabbing her toe because it will cause a miscarriage. And another one that the Bailan or the healers and the priests of the community are the one who recommends the food that she will eat, for as they believe that it will cause the delivery and also the physical appearance of the child. Another custom is that the midwife ties a birth charm of herbs, stones, and other items given to her by her spirit guardian around the mother's waist to protect the mother and the baby from spirits. And another one is the umbilical cord is buried under the house ladder for the baby's well-being. We know that the circumcision is very familiar in the Philippines, right? So the circumcision in the Manobo tribe is that the child is usually circumcised at the age of 2 years old with a bignos or ilab. It is the Manobo knives, no? So these are the knives they are using to circumcise the child. Next tradition in the Manobo culture is that marriage is arranged by the parents of the bride and the groom. The process begins with the both parent chooses a spokesperson to represent them in the negotiations. So this spokesperson is usually someone respected in the community, such as the datu or the bai, because they are the one wise and knowledgeable about the laws in the tribe. So the datu, they are the male leaders or the chieftain of the community. So he is responsible for making important decisions and leading the tribe. Meanwhile, the bai is the female leaders, often the wife of the datu or a woman of high status. So they are chosen because they are known for their eloquence and knowledge of the custom law in the tribe. Another one is the polygamy, although rarely practiced, was allowed in the Manobo. So polygamy means that a man having more than one wife. So in Manobo culture, it is allowed but not very common. So the datu or the leader might have multiple wives for practical reasons such as the economic and political reasons. So more wives meant more people to help with farming because women did most of the work in the field. So it is also helped build connection with different communities, making the datu more powerful. The dead are buried with objects for their afterlife journey. So one of example is the knife called bolo, no? So which the dead must take it on its journey to the afterlife. So the burial include a cutting the strand ritual to sever ties with the deceased. So an elder blackens half of the strand of the Manila hemp or abaca. This blackened end is held by the family while the white end is tied to the curbs. So the strand is cut to signify the cutting of ties of affection between the family and the dead. The next one is the baby is mourned only for 1 day, and a datu is mourned for 7 days. However, there are some Manobo, specifically in Salangsang, Cotabato, that mourning period lasts from 1 to 10 years. Last one is the costume of Manobo. Before the Spanish colonial period, the Manobo wore bark cloth to cover themselves. So bark cloth is a papery fabric made from the bark of certain trees. So it is common in the Southeast Asia, including in the Philippines. The traditional fabric for clothes was abaca or Manila hemp and dyed through the process of ikat. So ang ikat process is shown in your picture, so I know you are familiar with that. So nowadays, they use cotton cloth obtained through trade. So the dyes were acquired from plants and trees. So typically, the colors were red, black, yellow, green, blue, and white. So these are the colors you can be seen in a costume of a Manobo. So that's all. Thank you.
So in summary, the Manobo tribe is one of the largest indigenous groups in the Philippines that primarily reside in Mindanao. So they are descendants of Proto-Austronesian people that resisted the Spanish colonization to preserve their culture. So their way of life is they are engaged in agriculture, hunting, and weaving. And their way of farming is called kaingin or slash and burn. So in their political structure, they are hierarchical, that is led by a sultan with royal and non-royal class. In their social organization, there are 4 classes, which are the warriors or the bagani, priests, healers or the bailan, commoners, and slaves. In their spiritual beliefs, they believe in great spirit and unseen forces influencing the human life. And lastly, in their customs, their marriage is usually arranged by parents with negotiations led by community leaders. In their birth rituals, taboos and rituals protect mother and child from spirits. In burial practices, rituals ensure a peaceful journey to the afterlife. And their clothing are originally made from abaca or hemp, dyed using natural colors, but now is replaced by modern fabrics.